This is a scene of the first homicide in Duluth this year. 27-year-old Allisa Vollan's body was found inside a duplex near East 5th Street and 1st Avenue Friday morning. Good evening, I'm Laura Lee. Thanks for joining us. We're learning Allisa Vollan actually filed a petition for an order of protection just 2 weeks prior to her death. 25-year-old Dale Howard is charged with second-degree murder, accused by police of smothering Vollan. Northern News Now's Madison Green tells us how these tragic events unfolded despite the legal protection in place to protect her.
People ask me all the time, you know, why didn't she just leave? And there's no easy answer to that question.
As the executive director of Safe Haven in Duluth, Brittany Robb oversees nearly 500 survivors of domestic violence seeking shelter a year. She says domestic violence is a process.
It doesn't automatically start out as maybe physical abuse or financial abuse. It can be invisible to the person who's experiencing the abuse and those around them until it's almost too late.
This may be the case for 27-year-old Allisa Vollan of Duluth, the victim of the city's first murder of the year. She was allegedly smothered by her boyfriend, 25-year-old Dale Howard, less than 2 weeks after having a domestic abuse no-contact order in place.
DANCO, as they call it in the court system, is a no-contact order that the court can put in place on behalf of a victim after a domestic assault happens in our community and arrest occurs.
Prohibiting the offender from having any contact with the victim or visiting their home or place of work. Heather Dries with Safe Haven explains the only way to report a DANCO violation is if someone who knows about the order calls it in, or the victim themselves does.
Individuals who are experiencing domestic violence are weighing out what their safety looks like at that time. And so at times it might be what they need, and at other times, based on their experiences, they know that that could make it worse or escalate a situation.
But whether it's physical, financial, or emotional, picking up the phone is not always an easy call. In Duluth, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
And Howard's next scheduled court appearance is April 19th. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic abuse, there are plenty of resources out there to help. The Center Against Sexual and Domestic Abuse, or CASTA, is located in Superior. There's also PAFSO, or the Program for Aid to Victims of Sexual Assault, that's based in Duluth. You can also contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. We have all of those numbers right there on your screen. You can also find contact information on our website at northernnewsnow.com.